Let us take a look at the gastric mucosa. Now we know for the fact that most of the organs in our body consist of a mucosa, and the gastric mucosa is similar. The entire layer, the entire structure is divided into layers. The organ is divided into layers. The first layer or the deepest layer is known as the mucosa. Then we have the submucosa. Then we have the muscularis mucosa, and lastly, the outermost layer is known as the serosa. The mucosa layer, the last layer, is further divided into three more layers, namely the epithelia, the lamina propria, and the muscularis mucosa. Now, if you take a cross section of the gastric mucosa, you can see that the lining of the gastric mucosa consists of these honeycomb-like structures in them. After further observation, it was observed that these honeycomb-like structures were actually gastric pits. So this pit-like structure was quite deep. It extended all the way from the lining of the stomach all the way towards the muscularis mucosa. It is important not to confuse the muscularis mucosa with the mucosa here that is known as the muscularis externa. Muscularis mucosa is the muscularis layer of the mucosa, and that's how deep a typical gastric pit extends. And if you look at the luminal surface, or the surface right here, this is known as the luminal surface. The luminal surface of the gastric mucosa is lined by secretory epithelia or simple columnar mucus secreting cells. Now, these mucus secreting cells ensure that the entire lining of the stomach is filled. There is like a layer, a thin layer of mucus that surrounds the entire inner surface of the stomach. So it is important to know that about at the level of of approximately the epithelia epithelia, there is a presence of each and every gastric pit is provided by something known as the gastric gland. Now, there are a lot of types of gastric glands, and they're divided precisely into three types. So, the three types of gastric glands include the cardiac, the pyloric, and the principal. Out of all these gastric glands, the principal type of gastric gland is the most profound. So it is important to know that the presence of the gastric gland is variable. There are different types of gastric glands depending on the location inside the stomach. So let us see what glands are present in the fundic and the body region of the stomach. So the ones found here are known as the principal glands. Now, if you look at the structure of the principal gland, it looks something like this. However, there's not just one gland that supplies one gastric pit, but about 3 to 7 glands provide one gastric pit. The attachment of the gastric gland to the gastric pit is by the isthmus, and this isthmus leads to the neck of the gastric gland. Now, there are different types of cells that are found inside the gastric glands, namely the chief cells, the parietal cells, the mucous neck cells, stem cells, and the endocrine cells. Now, let's take a look by what the difference are in this and gastric. The prepuce is known as the cell. That's right there, cells and chief cells. Chiefs are at basal and you absent lots of meals until the chief cell are primarily not at the outside side of the primarily cell almost away just so that the green lack of membrane for the absorption of vitamin. Now that beginning the activation of the acidity of these files see how dominated pipeline. These pits are filled with water. So these microbes have the ability to have a lot of 98 and some important reason not just in like as along the side and the environment and the aspect. So that's why toxins are very important for the types of mucus on evil over mucus are that's all superficially can substance of food and our here is our so now awareness of cells is like that are which have this ability so they kind of miss or meaning and want to turn them into new cells. The period between one